Hey everybody, Jonathan here from Lehigh Valley Music and Sound. And with me today is James from Shadows You Don't Know About, a band from Bethlehem, PA. James, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I got a chance to listen to your music when you reached out to me, and I'm pretty sure one of my first impressions was, wow, this is weird.
Oh yeah.
But refreshingly weird. Like it's a good weird. Kind of like the first time I heard The Killer's weird.
Yeah. Gotta just embrace the weirdness of music sometimes.
And it's very bold of you. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about your band and why you went down this route. Because obviously you're not a traditional sounding band at all, which I appreciate.
Well, we started out, I had been in a lot of bands coming out of high school, and I had been just working through kind of what I wanted my sound to be.
Yeah.
And it just turned into, I couldn't find enough people to really work and be open-minded enough in a band setting to really have the ability to be like, oh, we're just gonna have this happen here, and it's going to be some weird switch. And so slowly but surely, I found Matt, our drummer and the producer of the current album that we just released, and he
When the Morning Star Fell.
Yes. Yes. He was completely gung-ho for the whatever I did, just getting heavy, having a little hip-hop in there, having a little synthy, kind of whatever. And I've always just appreciated music for music's sake, kind of just making what you feel and kind of just trying to get that feeling out there.
Yeah.
So that's really where.
I mean, I just like when I first heard Shadows You Don't Know About, and I was listening to it. I liked the combination of the singing vocals and the screaming, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then when I was listening to the one song, maybe it was Forlorn and Torn, and I said to myself, wait a sec, is that synthesizers I hear?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's freaking awesome, because like a lot of bands shy away from that, and I was so glad that you reached out to me, because it was something fun and different.
Well, I'm glad that it's different. I know a lot of my influences, you can, if you heard me say something, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Probably. Like, I know Falling in Reverse is a big influence on me, and they've always been, originally their first couple of records were like very metalcore, deathcore, but their vocalist was very much into hip-hop, so he was like, oh, we can add a little bit of like some rapping into some of the spots. So I was kind of like, okay,
that's pretty cool.
You can have heavy and rap go together. Then I'm listening to another band, what was it, Chiodos, where their singer would go from doing insanely beautiful highs to just like the most hardcore screaming, and it's just like, you can have both.
Yeah.
There can be a harmony.
That was like the first time I listened to symphonic metal when I was in my teens. I was like, wow, this is cool. So you have these heavy riffs, and then you have like some opera singer singing, and like, wow, that's freaking cool. And it was like, and I never could understand why symphonic metal wasn't more popular in the United States.
Yeah.
That's so freaking, it's so freaking like goth. Because people, one of the reasons why Evanescence became so popular in the early 2000s was because she was like, they were like, believe it or not, they're considered metal by some people.
Interesting.
I mean, I would say it's more of a rock, but I guess it kind of can like lean towards metalish, I guess. But she has that dark tone in her voice, and maybe it's the content. Some of the content kind of is metal like. But anyways, that doesn't matter. But anyways, so if people like that, then I'm surprised they don't take the plunge into symphonic metal. But I know that a lot of metalheads in the United States, well, I'm not even gonna just pick on. I know I pick on metalheads a lot, so I'm not gonna pick on metalheads this time.
It's easy to pick on metalheads sometimes.
I'm gonna say I'm just gonna lump everybody in on this. Music in general, music lovers are very close-minded in the United States.
Yes,
and
I will agree with that.
I mean, I came across this band from Germany, and they sounded so awesome. I reached out to them. They sound like 80s rock.
Mm.
And it's like, why can't we have bands like that in the United States to this day? It was like, I can't describe the music, but it was just awesome. I think we're just afraid. Like, everything is so trendy all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the fear of too many people disliking what you do is almost hindering the actual product that probably more people enjoy than those people who would be like, oh, this is awful, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So, it's sad, really.
It is.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I heard in the past that, because I would say to myself, gee, I wonder what happened to this band, or I wonder what happened to this musician. And then I find out that, oh, they're touring all over Europe. They freaking love them over there.
Mm-hmm.
Same with, like, Keane, Meatloaf. Meatloaf, he does, I don't know if he does anymore, but I know he was touring the United States, but he toured all over Europe, and they freaking love him like crazy over there, as if he was like a current or newer band.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like it's just weird how in the United States we go through phases and trends, and it's I don't know. I'm gonna have to blame that on the music industry, really. Not just I'm not gonna put all the blame on the listeners. I'm gonna say you have an industry that wants to shape and control what the trend is, and if you don't fit in that box, you're screwed.
Yeah, and you always have those stories of the bands who like get passed over by the big labels.
Yeah.
And then they blow up and those same labels are just like,
Well,
they're like courting them. That it's just like, oh, now you like me? We haven't changed at all, but now you like.
Well, that's how the tide changes, though. You know, and then they're like, oh, okay, the people like this. Well, let's harness this. And then the industry's always evolving, you know, obviously you have to. So when you get a new band that you thought, they're weird, but then they get popular. Okay, now let's rein these guys in, and then we're going to push for copycats. We want to get the copycats in there, and now we're reshaping what this trend is. It's now a trend. So it's, unfortunately, you know, when corporate is involved, you got these games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's unavoidable.
No, definitely. But, oh no, I know that there's still plenty of, a lot of my friends' bands, who are still, I wouldn't say being as weird as me, but definitely putting music in a heartfelt place instead of it being about a trend or anything like that. So that's still, I think that a lot of people are like, oh, what's come out of the Lehigh Valley? Well, I think there's a lot of great bands in the Lehigh Valley, honestly.
I think so, too.
And so that's why I'm very glad you are doing what you're doing to showcase a lot of this stuff.
Well, thank you. I mean, I didn't realize there were this many great bands in the Lehigh Valley until I started this project. You know, I hear a lot about the bigger fish, you know, that you know, turn out to events like Music Fest and stuff, but there's a lot of smaller projects that are aspiring, and they're working their way up, and the talent just actually blew me away. You know, because, you know, I still, when somebody says they have a band, I'm still in the mindset of when I was a teenager, so I don't have high expectations. I'm like, okay, they might suck, so, you know, brace yourself for it. So, because when I was a teenager, you know, a lot of people had bands.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they're like, ew, okay. the whiny vocals, with the changing of the voice. So when someone says they got a band and they're not well known, and then they share their music, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, how are you not freaking charting right now on Billboard? You know, so when I go like that, I'm impressed. All I'm saying, very long-winded way to say that I'm just impressed. That I think that there's a lot of talent in the Lehigh Valley. That and there's just been a huge underrepresentation of the Lehigh Valley and the music scene.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
From the entire Lehigh Valley.
Why, thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit more about this new album that you have out.
Yeah.
So this is your debut album, right?
Yes.
So it's When the
Morning Star Fell.
And I'll let you talk about it because I have a feeling I'm gonna butcher something.
So I grew up in a very kind of religious household.
Okay, same here.
And I always, I want to be very careful about how I say this. I always loved the stories in the Bible, but I didn't fully, when told to believe everything in the Bible, that's where the trepidation came in. So I always liked the stories, always was a big storyteller, always loved that as kind of like music as a way of painting these kinds of pictures. And I always loved the verse where I'm pretty sure Jesus was talking to one of the disciples, and he said, "I was there when the morning star fell," referencing Lucifer falling from heaven.
Right.
And I always then going deeper into that philosophy or that philosophical idea, it was the most beautiful angel, who was like the top angel with all the other archangels, was considered this bad egg and thrown out. So I always liked that idea of like, what if he was right? What if whatever Lucifer really wanted, if there was a Lucifer or is a Lucifer, what about him would be like, okay, this is why I'm going to take this great thing of being in heaven and just throw it all away. It had to be something kind of important.
Yeah.
I would hope it wouldn't be just something stupid like, oh, somebody said they didn't like his shoes or something like that. Or something stupid like that, where it's just like, all right, I'm done. But that's why I came up with the title, and then just through that, I was like, well, why don't I just paint all these different stories through this album? So a lot of the songs are very fiction oriented.
Okay.
The one song, the Black Hand, is about a guild in Skyrim, where it's the Dark Brotherhood or the Assassin's Guild in Skyrim, and that's their kind of nickname or moniker, the Black Hand. And Cast from Eden is about Adam's view of being cast from Eden.
Oh, wow.
And I'm trying to remember.
I really like I like and appreciate the creativity here. Like, this is very interesting.
Oh man, I'm gonna blank on the songs on the album now. I know there was one other one that was very much just like, Becoming Beholder. It's about D&D and their beholder, and just the idea of like somebody becoming, or like through like some magical property, just like they had a spell cast on them, and now they became this evil creature.
Okay. Now my favorite song is Forlorn and Torn.
That is that I began writing it about just like I was in a very angry and kind of despondent place, so I was kind of like, I'm gonna write about how I'm feeling. And then the pandemic hit.
Then you got even angrier.
Then I was just like, all right, how can I? Because I originally I had a different verses written for it, and it was a little bit more of a hip hop song. And then I was like, as we're going through, I was like, I don't think this is right. So I rewrote it, kind of made it a little bit more sing-songy. I'll say it like that. And I was just like, oh, this is perfect. It was also coming with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, all of that, where I'm just like, I am so sick, and I'm sure most of America at this point is so sick of all of this crap happening.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, can we
it's like we were just being bombarded by everything from all sides.
It's just like, can cops not kill people? Can, like, the world go back to being normal again, like, even slightly?
It's like we don't have.
Just like,
it's like there's no normal anymore. It's the new normal.
Yep. Welcome to the new normal.
How much do you hate that phrase now?
I've accepted it. I've accepted my new normal. It's just another part of the day. I'm going to get my Dunkin' this morning. I almost forgot my mask. And just seeing the stop sign right there at the front door, I was like, oh crap, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It was just like that weird, like...
To this day, I still forget my mask at times. I shouldn't by now, but...
Yeah, no, it was just that weird... And then, like, after seeing the stop, I was like, why didn't I remember that? So, yeah, no. Getting used to it, but also kind of just accepting it.
But I mean, I talk about this with so many artists because this is such a big deal, with how the restrictions have affected, the entertainment industry. Because I'm sure you had shows and all that kind of stuff before all the restrictions hit, and so now you're kind of like many of the other artists, stuck in limbo, not really having any place to play. Which is another reason why I created this platform. It's kind of like, while everyone's on hold, hey, let's, get your name out there. Let's push you out there. Let's keep you current despite being locked up.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's another reason why I think there's been a lot of excitement behind this project. Because I think a lot of bands and artists out there were like, come on, we want to go out and play. We want to play again. And so when I said, hey, why don't you come down to the studio? We'll do an interview. You talk about yourself. I'll push some of your music out there. We'll all just have a good time. That's really what it's all about. And, you have a lot of people at home that are kind of, because I've been back to work since May. But there's a lot of people who are still not back to work. So these guys got to be going really bonkers. They got to be going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to look at this show as like a message of hope. It's like a message of normalcy. True normalcy, not a new normalcy, a true normalcy, where if somebody doesn't leave the house, except maybe to get groceries, and so they're locked away, they got this crazy cabin fever, that they can come to this show and be like, all right, I kind of feel like I kind of can reminisce of how it used to be.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of like that's one of the many things I'm trying to do with this.
Well, no, yeah, just trying to help make that normalcy stay there, stay alive, is a great way of looking at it. Yeah.
Well, going with normalcy, there's been so much crazy stuff going on surrounding the election, and I never talk about political stuff, but there was so much tension on both sides of the aisle, and I was at the grocery store days after the election, but with the whole election still going on because they're doing all the counting and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm at the grocery store, and I accidentally cut this older gentleman off, and I say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he's like, "Oh, that's all right." And then because I'm on the phone with my wife because I'm trying to verify whether I got the right product or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got in his way. Then I double back, I turn around, and there's the same older gentleman coming around the corner with his cart, and I'm cutting him off again. Oh. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Well, we meet again." And I started laughing. And then he says, as he's walking by, he laughs and he says, "Well, at least we're meeting in peace."
Yeah.
And it's like. And then I talked to this other family. It's this African family, and I was commenting on their beautiful clothes because his wife was wearing this beautiful gown type clothing. I forget what the name of it was, but it was to cover her baby. She had a little infant. Oh. So I was commenting on that, and it was just like, thank you so much, and thank you, sir, and it just like when I thought about it, it's like people are so tense because of the media, and because really what it comes down to is the media. The media is pinning people against each other with the news stories and creating this tension. And I think when I interacted with those people at the grocery store that evening, it was almost like it was a reminder to people that we're all just people.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
Unplug once in a while. Stop watching the TV all the time, especially if you're watching the news. Don't let yourself get all wired up. And don't forget that we're all just people. If you have to, just tune into Lehigh Valley Music and Sound and meet cool people like James over here from Forlorn and Torn. I mean,
you know what? Now I have a new band name at least. No?
You know what? That would be a good band name.
Well, yeah, no, it
that
would
actually would be
be
pretty badass. No, he's from Shadows you don't know about. Although he might change his name now.
I might have to. That is a really cool name.
I do like. I think it has a good ring to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. if there's any fledgling bands out there, it's mine. Get out of here. But no, yeah, definitely. I think having us all kind of meet in the middle in peace is a lot better than a lot of what's going on currently, because I know, especially even at my work, it's always a hot button issue with like people coming in, working. I work in the restaurant industry.
Okay.
And having people come in and hearing some of the stuff that some of the waitresses come back and they're like, oh, like these people are just so horrible, this, that, the other thing. And then to bring up they're probably Republicans. And it's kind of just like, I mean, that's an interesting, I mean, everyone can be a dickhead, but
Yeah.
And just how we're kind of, that media idea is very much just like, if you're not this, then you're that.
Well, you know,
and there is a middle ground there.
The media is good at what it does. I mean, it's like it's the same with the corporation that runs the music industry. It's the same thing with the media. It's shaping the way people think. It's shaping their trends, and it's all the same. And the problem is that less and less people unplug nowadays because it's hard to unplug.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, when I was a kid, teenager, when you turned off your computer, you unplugged. Because when you left the house, you unplugged. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have a web browser on our phone. Once you turned your computer off and you left, you were basically unplugged. So now, though, we walk around with computers in our pockets. So every time you get a smoke break or every time you're at a lunch break and you look at your phone and you're reading the new headlines, you can't get away from it. So you're constantly being, whether you know it or not, your mind is constantly being shaped. And they know what they're doing. And like I said, I don't get political on this show. And I'm not endorsing any politicians, but what I'm saying is I'm talking about media in general, and I got to be careful even doing that because the social media platforms have gotten really strict on what you can say, and they don't like people having certain opinions. So I try to keep this just entertainment, completely entertainment.
Yeah.
So where can people find your music if they were interested in checking your band out or downloading any of your songs?
We are currently on, I'm fairly certain, all platforms besides Reverb Nation.
Okay.
So you can check us out on Spotify, Bandcamp, on SoundCloud, YouTube, Deezer, iTunes, Apple Music. I'm trying to remember, I got an email from the company saying all the things that we're on. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
You can find us probably on most streaming platforms, and if you can't, you can find us on another one.
And if they Google Shadows you don't know about, they'll find you.
Oh, definitely.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about.
Definitely, yep.
So, we're going to close out this interview. It was great having you here, James.
Yes, thank you for having me.
But before I kick you out of the studio, is there anything that you would like to tell the audience out there watching?
Well, we're currently working on our second album with all this great time that I have on my hands. We got lots of ideas coming out. Also, we're working on a cover song that will hopefully be out by the end of this year, and we're also hopefully going to be working on recording a live show for all of you beautiful people to be able to watch and see us be able to perform the way that we want to perform. We gotta perform for you guys, and you gotta be entertained by us. That's what we gotta do.
That sounds exciting. Well, James, I want to thank you for coming down to the studio and having this interview with me.
Thank you for having me. It was a great conversation. Very happy to be out enjoying the world as it is.
Yes. And this is our new normal.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. See ya.